So finding and arranging my internship started out really stressful, but actually ended up being a really great experience. So I actually had an internship all lined up with this other place that I was really excited about, and I had it lined up for about half a year before my internship actually needed to start. And then as time was getting closer and I needed to work on specific dates, I could not get a hold of them, and they would not contact me back. And so then it became really stressful because I was about a month away from starting my internship. So I decided to actually go onto BYU Idaho's website and look at the list of previous internships done from other students within my major. And I at first looked at online internships since I am an online student, but then I decided to see if anybody happened to have done anything in Colorado, and I noticed that somebody had chosen to do their internship at a Boys and Girls Club. And while I didn't have any experience with a Boys and Girls Club before, I do remember I grew up in an area where it was a very prominent influence in the community, and so I was well familiar with what it was, a few of the things that it offered, because it had been advertised to me as a child, and so I thought it would be so great to kind of bring that into my schooling. And so once I saw that it was there, that was kind of my top choice, but I decided to actually study out the top 10 or so internships listed there. And I contacted the 5 that I thought, yes, that could work for me, my preferences and my schedule. And then the first one to get back to me was the Boys and Girls Club, which I was so excited about because that's the one that I had wanted anyway. And then I was able to get things done really quickly after that. And so I actually got an email from their volunteer coordinator. I chose to do a volunteer internship so that I could start sooner. And through the email, we set up a phone call, a kind of phone interview, where she just explained the mission and purpose of the Boys and Girls Club to see if it was really what I needed and was interested in. And after that phone call, we set up an actual one-on-one meeting where she actually did go over the whole history of the Boys and Girls Club and the individual programs and activities that are offered. And then we set my schedule at that point, and after passing a drug test and a background test, I was good to go to start my internship the week after. So my responsibilities were very different on a day-to-day basis. So in the region, the town that I'm in, there are 2 different Boys and Girls Clubs and 4 different locations of what they call Kids Club 360, which is essentially in the school program. It's sponsored through the Boys and Girls Club, but it is in the school location after school, and it's generally just for those students there, whereas the Boys and Girls Club is for all students ages 12 to 18, and Kids Club 360 is for elementary school children ages 6 to 12. And so in order to get all of my hours with all the different hours that they were open, I actually chose to split my time. I did a few days a week at the Tut Club, which is a Boys and Girls Club that had everybody, and then I did another day a week at a club in a charter school. And so that was really interesting to see the different clientele there, but because they were 2 completely different locations, the needs that they needed me to fulfill were very different from each other. So at the Tut Club, they were usually really low on staff, and because of that, I soon started filling in for staff. I started doing things that staff members normally would do that they normally wouldn't have just a volunteer do. And those things included running the STEM program, which is, I believe, is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so I would do a few activities of that every now and then. I also helped with the art and their power hour. as well as triple play there, which is to exercise like your mind, your body, and just making sure that you are expanding all facets of yourself. And it also includes education about your body and your health there. I helped with those things. Also at that location, I ran the front desk a lot, which might seem like not very applicable to the major, but I actually dealt a lot with parents coming in, needing help with payments or picking up their children when maybe they weren't authorized to, and making sure that all the children were safe at all times, and making sure that the parents felt a part of their children's experiences at the Boys and Girls Club. I also dealt with different incident and disciplinary reports that I had to write up and present to parents and my supervisor to make sure that everybody was in compliance with the rules and that everybody was being safe as well. And I also did answer the phone. We had parents calling about, even potential parents calling to see what the club offered and how they could be a part of it and what exactly the club did for the community. I also helped with different closing procedures. And then at the other location at James Irwin Charter Elementary School, I did some of those same things, but I also helped with their brick lab, and I did a lot more of the art projects and helping with that program at the JISIS, is what it was called, JISIS location instead of the TUT. But really, I did whatever it was that my supervisor needed me to do that day. Also during open rec and any other time, I had the great opportunity to sit down one-on-one with children and help get to know them and teach them and help them through some pretty intense things in their life. Even if it was while we were coloring a picture or playing a game, Candyland. I don't know how many times I played Candyland with these kids, but each time we were able to talk about their individual circumstances, and I was able to help some kids talk through their feelings when I don't know that they have very many people in their life that let them talk through the feelings of some things that are really difficult that they're going through, like their parents being divorced or getting remarried, or even your father's ex-girlfriend is now no longer in your life, or maybe their sister just moved out of the house and that was difficult for them. So there were lots of good things that I was able to be a listening ear to some of these kids that come from not so great situations, and just be there for them when not many other people are. So as I said before, one of the things that I feel that really helped benefit the sites that I was at was that when they were low on staff, they could come to me and I was able to get them through a really tricky time. I remember my first day there, I believe there were 6 staff members, and my supervisor said that they were low staffed, and then pretty soon within a week there were only 3 of us. And so that was a very stressful time, I know, at least for my supervisor and for the other staff members trying to compensate for the lack of other staffers. And so it was great that I was able to help with that. I would run programs that others had planned, and I planned programs to run myself as well. And that is not something that any of the other volunteers did or had the opportunity to do, since I was there so much and really knew the kids. They learned to respect and trust me, where I feel like we all felt comfortable with me running programs. I also helped with hours, especially during spring break. We provided, I think, about 3 times as much open time and as many hours as usual. And so during that time, I was able to help cover people's shifts when they were working long days that they weren't used to or weren't able to do. And I think one thing that really helped benefit the site as well is that I was able to talk with some of the kids that needed some attention, but the staff members didn't really have the time to give them that attention because they were so busy with running their programs and making sure everything was running properly that I could actually sit down and slow down with these kids and give them the time and attention that they needed. As far as benefiting personally from this experience, I feel that I learned so much about myself. Each week, there was just something that I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I was as impatient as I am, or I didn't realize that I was so terrible at taking a compliment. Just different things like that every single week I learned something different about myself. But I also learned that I can do hard things. I'm a very reserved person, and it's really hard for me to put myself out there, and I know that sometimes children can be the harshest judgers, it could seem, because they're never afraid to say what they think, and so sometimes that can be a little intimidating for me, but I learned that I can push through it and do things that initially make me uncomfortable, but that can be so rewarding later. I also learned to love those children in particular that at first might seem a little difficult to love. I know my first day there, a huge physical fight broke out between these three boys who were body slamming each other to the ground, and it was ridiculous, and I thought, oh no, these boys are going to be difficult the whole time. And by the end, those three were among my favorite of the children that I just really learned to love them and appreciate where they were in their life because of the circumstances they had been given. And it was a really great experience to learn to look for the good in all. Another little personal benefit is I also teach piano lessons on the side, and actually through this I got a couple piano students to teach as well, so that was something that was unexpected that I also benefited from. My supervisor has also offered me a job or jobs on multiple occasions once I'm done with my internship, and so that is a great benefit as well.
One huge connection that I found through my schooling was particularly the child and family advocacy class. I just thought of it so much because we are told to advocate for children and their well-being, as well as the doctrine of the family. But these children really just need somebody to advocate for them and their best interests. It reminds me a lot of the mission of the Boys and Girls Club, which paraphrased essentially is that their purpose is to make sure that every young person knows that they are cared about, that somebody cares about them. And I've just found that both through the child and advocacy class and the Boys and Girls Club, that a little effort can make a huge difference. These children just need to know that someone is there and someone is looking out for them. And I look forward to continuing to work within the community, perhaps through Boys and Girls Club and perhaps through other means where I can advocate for these children that come from underprivileged circumstances and environments, maybe dysfunctional family backgrounds, that I can be a help to them. I would absolutely recommend this internship to somebody. Now, if for your career you're wanting to focus more on marriage and family studies, then this might not be the best opportunity for you, as it is more with families and particularly children. But if you are looking to help those in underprivileged circumstances or from dysfunctional families, particularly with the children, then this is an absolutely incredible opportunity. And the great thing is that there are Boys and Girls Clubs locations all throughout the United States, so you don't have to be in my specific area in order to be able to help this great organization. But if you do happen to be in my area, I am in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and so it's through the Boys and Girls Club of the Pikes Peak region. And so for my region, the specific contact person would be Drace Ryder, and here is her email address.